Hi, and welcome to Nerdiest Prime. We're reviewing Star Trek Picard Season 3. And this week's episode is exciting, and we're starting with our first impressions. Alan.
Loved it again. We're on a roll, I think, with this season. And it just ratcheted up the excitement and the adventure and the tension, and it was great. It was even better than last week's.
Did you guys hear that? There's like lightning and thunder happening where I am right now. Yeah, I agree. I feel like we're not going to have a lot to talk about because I loved it. Second time around, I had a couple of nitpicks, but the first time around, I was totally into it. So every episode gets better, which is great. So I really wish that this had been the only season of Picard. You know, it's funny because I realized that I don't think I like Picard as a character.
He's like an angry old man. Get off my lawn! Just yelling.
Get off my starship!
Well, it's becoming less and less likely that Jack Crusher is not Picard's son. All my theories out of the water about the clones and any sort of time travel or... Yeah, but I really enjoyed that scene between Picard and Crusher. And I, even though I was initially griping that they were just retreading the David Marcus, Carol Marcus, Captain Kirk, I think they did a really good job with this one. I think like they both made good points in their discussion, and I don't feel like we really had that kind of explanation of the choices that were made.
That scene with Crusher and Picard was my least favorite scene out of the episode. And one of the things that I've always liked about their relationship is that it was always kind of under the surface. They just kind of like did the thing that this show does and New Trek tends to do, which is they just talk their feelings out, right? There's no subtlety to anything. There's no subtext. It's all like, this is how I feel. Oh, okay, well, let me tell you how I feel. Oh, really? This is how I feel. And then back and forth for 10 minutes.
It's interesting that you say that because actually that was one of my favorite scenes. Because I felt that Picard, or Patrick Stewart was playing Picard a lot more like Picard, and Picard that's, but that is personally wounded. And it was so interesting. I mean, this episode felt like it was written completely differently from the last two episodes and really the last two seasons. Suddenly, everybody had a clear, arc. Everybody had a clear motivation. Things were happening. One of the things I really liked was this tension of the old timers being on the ship, and they're kind of right beside their position, so Beverly is injured and she's in sick bay, and there's a doctor next to her, and I'm just like, pick up a tricorder and fix somebody. In that moment I realized that that's the feeling I've had this whole last two seasons, and the second she just jumped in and picked up the tricorder or started medicating, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And then we went to the bridge, and then I was like, the command chair is right there. Why am I watching Captain Shaw like barking orders when Picard and Riker are right there? And suddenly he gets injured, and they were like, you're in command, Riker. And I was just like, oh my god.
I was like, oh my god, it's like, this is now Riker's command. I'm like, Shaw's like down and out and going to be recovering in sickbay for the next several episodes. So now it's like we get a Captain Riker show.
But I didn't realize that that's what I wanted. I only realized that's what I wanted when I saw him in command.
Exactly. That's how I felt too.
Yeah. And I was like, oh wow. Then it's like it clicked. You know how they say you can't become your own person until like one of your like your dad dies kind of thing. He couldn't become an actual captain without confronting Picard.
Yeah, I feel like all the pieces are falling into place because you have like, you have Seven that's out. She was confined to quarters, and now she's out and doing the mission.
Worf being there definitely ratchets it up the interest in Raffi's storyline. Like, pairing her with him is making me more interested in that part of the show now. And I mean, just his whole introduction, the Slayer of Gowron. It's like that was great. It's like, I am making tea.
Chamomile tea.
I think I mentioned in the last review that Michael Dorn had talked about Worf being like Pai Mei in Kill Bill. And so that would make Raffi basically the Uma Thurman character. And that makes a lot of sense. Although I think Raffi feels a little too old. I think that's part of what makes her character irritating, because she has this kind of like sort of impatient, petulant, like leap before you think kind of character, which if she was 21 or 22, you know, then you could appreciate it more. Like, okay, she's like a little like, what's the expression? Wet under the gills. I forget the expression.
Wet under the gills. Like a fish?
No. Wet behind
Fish out of
the
water?
ears.
Wet behind the ears?
Yeah.
Wet behind the ears, yeah.
So what do we think it is?
Lore?
Well, I think it's either Lore or it's Moriarty, because we know those two are going to show up.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it all connects in a kind of clear and not too convoluted way. I hope we don't get into like Spider-Man 3 territory where we got like a zillion villains and it just becomes a ridiculous mess.
This show is amazing. It's everything I've been wanting to see. It's particularly really interesting to see Picard and Riker in conflict, because they've never been in conflict in this way before. But really, we're watching Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, are we?
You have Admiral Adama in a power struggle. You have President Roslin as Dr. Crusher. You know, now it's dark, shaky camera, people yelling at each other, people trying to like take control of. And now we have Cylon agents on board that look just like humans.
Huh. Yeah, that's interesting. I never thought of that. Is Battlestar Galactica based on Star Trek?
According to me, it is.
Oh.
The reboot of Battlestar Galactica has a lot more in common with Deep Space Nine than it does with the original show.
Well, once again, I really enjoyed the space battle in this one. I like how they keep coming up with different ways to make interesting space battles. I like to have the porthole weapon work. They basically shot themselves in the ass.
You know, I will say that that's the one thing that bothered me, is that they were pointing, the Titan was pointing in one direction, and then they launched the portal gun, but the Titan turned to face the portal.
You think LaForge is a terrible pilot then?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, for sure. She only got there because of who her dad is. No, she's a great character, actually. I like her character.
Yeah, I like her too. But it's funny how LaForge started off as a pilot and now she's a pilot.
Interesting observation.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna give this a 7, because it's great.
Another 8. It's an 8 out of 10. Again, it was just basically, it was really, really good, and it was an improvement on last week's, even though I gave that an 8 as well. But I'm still feeling there might be a 9 or higher, coming up maybe. So I'm just gonna say 8 for now. See where it goes, because this could all come apart.
Yeah,
we're all being baited into like, this is a
this could be the Picard season 2 episode 2 episode.
Yeah.
I will see your 7 and I will raise you to an 8.
Really?
It was that. I mean, I could even almost give it a 9, but I'm gonna just give it an 8.
The Captain Riker brought it up like.
I did everything that was going on in this episode was like basically I realized that's what I was looking for. I don't care about Discovery. I don't care about these 2 other seasons of Picard and all these other things we've been seeing. I just want to see more of the Next Generation, and finally it delivered that, you know.
Interestingly, Frakes directed this episode, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. He's pretty good. That guy knows what he's doing. That Riker.
He's good at telling himself what to do.
Yeah.
I'm fighting with Patrick Stewart and saying, Patrick Stewart, you just ruined this show. You see yourself off the set. You just killed our ratings.